Right, so good evening and welcome to another segment of Easy Talk. However, it's not the bite size. And you're probably thinking, why am I wearing this silly hat? Well, today is our first year anniversary of doing the channel. And we've got one of the originals back. It's been a while. We're happy to see you back. Adam from Route One. How's it going, mate?
Thanks very much for having me back, by the way, because I haven't posted anything on my channel for like ages.
I noticed.
Thanks so much, guys. Like,
no, I've always said literally people have been asking about you and your channel, and like I said, when we did start the channel, I think Adam, you were one of our first guests, which has now turned out to be the Easy Talk every Friday. So again, Adam, thanks for coming back. And we have somebody again who's making a habit of making an appearance on the channel in Richard from Arsenal TV. How's it going, Richard?
I'm good, mate. And obviously, congratulations. I've been on there for a whole year.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's gone very, very quick. And last but not least, James Rowe. How's it going, brother?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And I actually got to see James in the flesh. we didn't do an interview, did we?
We didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't. But there'll be other times. But it was nice to catch up before the Cardiff game.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
And I got my prediction right. That went too bad, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I went for the 3-1, but as always, James is almost always right. Thank you, James.
Not always, but yeah.
Considering, guys, I actually held it up for a 2-0, but then Cardiff scored in the last minute.
Oh, I was at the Cardiff game. You two were there. I was going to message you, Alex, but sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in the North Bank. Oh God, I actually saw your you did like a little vlog, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
What block was you in, Adam?
I was in 9.
I was in 5.
Oh my God, we were close to each other.
Yeah, so I might see you next time. But for my next match, I'm at Barty Bodder, so if I'm in a clock end.
All right, I'll see if I'll go to that one because it's fake boyfriend.
All right, guys. So let's enough of the chit chatter and let's get into the real topics of the day. Now, one of the things I was wondering, we've got like the next 4 Premier League matches. Actually, tomorrow we're playing against Huddersfield, and I wondered, realistically, how many points can we get from the next 4 Premier League games? So I'm going to ask this to James.
My prediction is, I think it will be 10 out of 12. I think, and do you know what game is worrying me? Well, I say worrying. You know what game where I think we'll drop points? I think it will be Southampton. That's coming off the back of the second leg of the Europa League, and I think Southampton have been really shrewd with Hasenhüttl. I mean, he beat us at home at St Mary's in his debut game. When he was at Leipzig, he had them playing some tremendous football, and although they're not getting great results of late, there's something about them. And I can just see them, rocking up to the Emirates and taking a point. I hope I'm wrong, of course, but that's just my opinion in that respect.
James, I hope you're wrong.
I don't know. There's something about them. I think as well with the Barty Borisov second leg, because it's not a Real Betis, Frankfurt, Lazio. I think people are just assuming that Arsenal have got like a buy into the last 16. It's highly likely Arsenal are going to progress. That's what we all hope. That's what we all expect. But the fact remains is we've got to respect the opponent and we've got to do a professional job, because if we harbour ambitions to win the Europa League, tougher tests lie ahead. And I think, as the saying goes, there's no easy games in Europe, is there?
Yeah. So let's just remind the viewers, the next 4 Premier League matches are Huddersfield away, then we have Southampton at home, Bournemouth at home, and then Tottenham away. Brother Adam, what's your thoughts on the points? And
yeah, I think the main game that's going to be hard is going to be Tottenham away. But also, you kind of look at Bournemouth they played some fantastic. Their tactics against Chelsea were fantastic. Eddie Howe's fantastic manager. Obviously, I think okay, fine. I think we're expected to get 9 points. Tottenham will be hard. I don't know if you saw today, Harry Kane's going to be back for the Burnley game, that's like 2 games before our game against them. Quite frankly, I'm sick of him getting injured and just, coming back before Arsenal. It happened last season as well, didn't it? So, yeah, to be honest, I think we're going to get 9 points out of the 4 games. I think Tottenham away is going to be a big, especially now Tottenham are sort of dragged into the title race, more or less. I know they're the outsiders, but they are still, trying to put that pressure on. And I just think Tottenham away is going to be a real challenge. I know they're not really away because Wembley isn't really their home ground. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be really the only difficult one. And you're right on when you say Southampton's going to be a hard game because they turned us over with their new manager. So it's going to be a tough ask to beat these teams. But I reckon we'll win the whole games. Our away form isn't all there. But I just think 9 points.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. And lastly, but not least, Richard, your thoughts on how many points do you reckon we'll get from the next the next 4 Premier League games?
If I'm thinking realistically, I'm hoping 10 points max. I'm hoping that we can get 3 points at Huddersfield, Bournemouth, Southampton. And I reckon we could probably get a point at Tottenham, which I would be happy with in some sort of way. But if you look at the Southampton game, they didn't really tear us apart. Let's be real. Southampton didn't tear us apart at all. It was basically 3 headers, bread and butter, that the defence couldn't cope with. That was what happened. So really, Southampton didn't play in around us and split us open to create the chances. It was just 3 plain headers that went in. Bournemouth, they have been surprising lately. Eddie Howe is a great manager, don't get me wrong. And his tactics when he played against Chelsea was spot on. He knew what he wanted to explicit with Chelsea, and it happened. I think Sarri just got his tactics wrong. And so really, I think the Tottenham game is going to be the key one because, as Adam said, they're in that title race at the moment. And if you think about it, this Huddersfield game, the tables have turned because if you remember, we played Man City last week and now, and Chelsea played Huddersfield. But now the tables have turned. They've got Huddersfield. We've got Huddersfield. They've got City. So I reckon Man City is going to beat Chelsea. And I reckon this will be a good opening chance for us to get back into top 4 and hopefully Man United lose. So, yeah, I reckon 10 points.
So then I must be the odd man out because I'm thinking we're probably going to get 8 points. 3 points from Huddersfield, 3 points from Southampton, a draw from Bournemouth, and a draw from them guys just down the road.
Do you not think Bournemouth at home is completely different to Bournemouth away? Like for example, Chelsea found out if we was playing away from home, I think you might have a point. But I think with Arsenal playing at home, we've got to take the initiative. And I just think, for me, there's something about Hasenhüttl, and especially with his experience with Leipzig, and it'll get a reaction from those players eventually that'll be prolonged over a couple of games, I think. But I can understand your point, Alex. But I think because we're playing at home, I can only see us really getting 3 points at home to Bournemouth. If it was away from home, I think it might be a little bit different.
What really worries me is the movement with the Bournemouth players. They're so mobile, whereas our defence, we're like a bus trying to turn a corner. We take an age to defend, to organise ourselves. And we've said so many times that we don't have that leader to organise the defence. So that's what really worries me, James. It's the attack force that Bournemouth had there. As you can see, they just ripped Chelsea to bits and pieces.
I think Chelsea underestimated them though. But from my point of view, having watched Arsenal 7 times live this season, the thing that is driving me round the bend is the fact that none of that back forward can communicate with one another. And it's driving me round the bend. I think I must have shouted out a fair few times at my last game at home to Cardiff, who's talking in that back four? Because obviously they can't. And I asked the question, when you have a back line of different nationalities, what common language they're talking in? And people look at me as if I'm, an alien trying to raise such a subject. But you compare that to the Atletico back line. They all speak the same language. They all help one another. When someone gets stuck, they go and help the person. They don't just leave them all out at sea. And going forward, especially in the summer, getting in new recruits, I'm really intrigued as to what kind of defender Arsenal can attract and one that they can identify. I mean, there's lots of people talking about where's Matthijs de Ligt going to go here in the Netherlands. He would entertain a move to Arsenal. Arsenal have a chance to get him if they believe that they can. It's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to go to the likes of Barcelona, Juventus or Bayern Munich because he's a very smart kiddie. He's not one of the bottle where he'll just go where he's expected to go. The most important thing for him is that he plays. And having watched him live here since he broke through, he's the type of defender we would need because he's not scared to communicate with his fellow teammate. Even when his team are winning, he stays concentrated. And for me, that's the biggest problem of the defence is not so much in a positional sense, guys, but the fact that they can't appear to communicate. And then when you can't do that, especially in the defence, you're asking for trouble, really.
Adam, I mean, we're going slightly off tint here, but is the defence a major concern for you?
You know what? Here's the thing. I've always had a problem with our defence. There's always been a problem with our defence since, we haven't really had a sturdy defence since the Invincibles. And my main issue has always been Mustafi. I haven't liked the guy since the first time I saw him play. All right. And I want to say that it's all his fault because I genuinely I have a hatred for this guy. It's actually unhealthy. It's really unhealthy. But the guy is just so. I don't know if you saw the thread on Twitter where there was just there must have been 30 videos of just his it was like a compilation of his mistakes at Arsenal, and it was like a really long thread. I'm just thinking, how can this guy still be even picked, But then you have to look at it at some point he was injured this season, and even then we weren't defending well. So it's obvious that he's a problem, but he's not the biggest. He's not the one causing the whole problem. But we say that we want to sell. We're trying to sell him in the summer. Who the hell's going to take Mustafi? Who the hell is going to buy Mustafi? It's we'd be lucky if we get 10 million for him. Seriously, this guy is unbelievably stupid on the pitch. The goal against City, the first goal against City, he was literally playing everyone on side. I've never seen something like that from a defender. But he's doing it consistently. Really, honestly, the hatred.
But then, Adam, you know what? I mean, can't Emery see that?
He must be able to see that, but he hasn't got any other options. It's either I'll play Mustafi, I'll play Socrates or Koscielny. Koscielny was injured until he came back through the season. Mavropanos still injured, more or less. He's starting to come back into the team, but he hasn't played enough. He hasn't got much fitness. So Mustafi, he has no option but to play Mustafi.
But James, we've harbored on about this point many times on Cannon Fodder. Why does Unai Emery not play the youth players? Zach Medley is a central defender. Daniel
Ballard's having a great season at the under-23s as well. I think he's made 4 or 5 goal line clearances this season.
With all due respect to the under-23s, it's I think under-23 is so different. It's so different to the Premier League. Because under-23 football, if you look in other countries like in Spain, they have Barcelona B and they're playing against grown men week in, week out. I can understand if we're saying Reece Nelson and Emile Smith-Rowe is, they're great from under-23s, but they're going out on loan. If we want to bring in Zach Medley, we have to send him out on loan, see if he's ready to play at this competitive level. Because if you make big mistakes at this level as a youngster, you're more or less done. You're not going to be able to keep going, you know?
Yeah, it's just, and the other point that James made about the communication.
Yeah, it's for
doesn't.
me. It's for me personally, Alex, something which is staring me in the face, and I can. The only thing I can think about is I firmly believe that Emery is giving everyone a fair crack of the week of the whip, sorry, and assessing everybody. And but in the summer, you will see a huge turnover. I think he's just trying to be fair as a manager in looking at what he's got. As I say, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position to interview players and managers. And when you hear managers say the likes of continuity is extremely important at football. And I remember an interview I did with a manager here in the Netherlands where he said to me that when he's identifying players, when he's just taken over from a squad, he's looking at the character of his players, not just the ability. And, you know, the characters in the dressing room who are positive, that want to make a good impression, that want to go on to achieve something. And I think Emery is weighing all this up. And I think in the summer, we'll see a huge turnover of players, especially leaving. But I think he's just being professional enough to give everyone a fair crack of the whip, so that when he makes his final decision as to regards of players that he wants to leave, then I think it'll have a complete picture of what he judges to be the right decision.
But James, just before I go to the next point, do you agree with Adam that the leap from under 21s or under 23s to the Premier League is so big that the young players will be all lost at sea? Do you think the gap is?
I think Adam makes a great point. I think Adam makes a great point that the gap is very big. Adam makes a great point about that, but sometimes you have to take risks. I mean, Tony, I know times are different and the game has changed, but Tony Adams was captain of Arsenal at the age of 21. You know, and I know it was completely different times and completely different qualities, and you know, the being a real leader. But sometimes you've got to take risks. I mean, the club that I watch on a regular basis here in Amsterdam, Ajax, they're well known for the conveyor belt of letting players go through at a very, very young age. And sometimes fortune can favour the brave. You know, we're told that loan signings are the only possibility. Well, we've always had a good youth policy, always through the years, of players that, even if they didn't break through at Arsenal, went on to become Premier League standard for other clubs. So I think it's time to just take a bit of a risk and judge it. And if Emery believes there's one or two or three players in that squad, there's no harm at all in bringing them through, letting them train on a regular basis, and easing them in gradually.
I'm going to go to Richard quickly before we go into the next topic. Adam has spoken about, about Mustafi, his resale value. Now, I did see on Twitter, this week where someone posted a list of players if we were to sell them on or get rid of them. And the top of the list, he put Mustafi. We could probably get 25 million for Mustafi.
We're really lucky to get £25 from Mustafi. It's so terrible.
And then this person, I'm not going to say who the Twitter account is from, but so Mustafi he rates him at 25 million. Iwobi, 20 million. Monreal at 10 million. Koscielny, 10 million. Granit Xhaka, 40 million. Mkhitaryan, 30 million. And Ozil at 35 million. Richard, help me.
Well, out of the current squad, I've actually made a list of the players that I would keep and that I would sell. And majority of it, the players that I've done to sell is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players out of the whole entire squad that I think need to go. Because I just don't think they're good enough for this club. And it's as simple as that. Now, if you go to Granit Xhaka, he's been here for quite some time now, and realistically, we actually brought him for £35 million. So they're going to look at his performances over the years that he's been here, and the current season that we are in now, we'll be lucky to get 25 million for him. And to be honest, I think the closest that we'll get for Granit Xhaka is 20 million because of his performance. Yes, I understand that Granit Xhaka has built a nice defensive midfield bond with Torreira, but even Guendouzi can do the business with Torreira. They proved it against Man City. Guendouzi and Torreira commanded that midfield for us. But Mustafi, he needs to go because I feel that every season he's making the same mistakes year in, year out. And quite frankly, I've had enough of him. He needs to go. The only problem is with this defence, we haven't got someone in the coaching area that can drill these defence to play properly as a unit. We've got Steve Bold. What's he there for? Because when I look at the training videos, I don't see him doing anything. He's just standing around like a lost puppy, if you want to put it that way. That's what literally Steve Bold looks like. If you're a defender that you've worked with this club, drill this defence. I bet you any money if we had someone the likes of Tony Adams, or even let's just stick with Tony Adams.
Yeah.
I reckon the likes of him would actually come in and drill this defence because he knows what this club is about. I don't blame like individual defenders. I blame them all as a unit because they're clearly not doing their job properly as they should be.
Okay, well, so let's go into the second topic that we want to talk about. And there's been a plethora of injured players yet again at Arsenal. And I do wonder, are we the most unluckiest Premier League team to have so many injured players at the wrong time of the season? Now, I want to ask you guys, for you, which injured Arsenal player do you think we have missed so far this season? I mean, on my list, I've got, Daniel Welbeck's out until the end of the season. Rob Holding is out. Hector Bellerin. Mkhitaryan, I saw that he's back in training. Socrates, he's back in training. Mavropanos, I mean, he appeared for a few minutes in the Man City game. But for you guys, which Arsenal player do you think that we have missed so far through injury?
Well, I honestly think out of those players, I think we're missing 3 of them, and that's Holding, Socrates, and Bellerin. Apart from that, I couldn't give a crap about the rest.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Adam,
I forgot Holding got injured. Actually, because I was originally going to say, because I actually really like the Mavropanos. I think he's rated highly at Arsenal, and I think it's always good to have like a few options. Do you know what I mean? It's like if there's a few defenders that are just out of favour, then at least he has like Mavropanos to fall back on. But yeah, I'd actually say Holding because he was having a really good season. Like he was doing fantastic, and now like he's been injured. Didn't we go through? He played the whole 22 game unbeaten, didn't he?
Yeah. I would say Holding as well, and he was a vital part of that unbeaten run because how many times did he stand up to attackers and wingers and actually want to defend? And he's still very, very young, but he looked the most assured defender that we have. I mean, you see some attackers, the City game, for example, you see some attackers bearing down on our defenders and they look like rabbits in headlights. Stand up to them. Stand up to them. Expect them to come at you. I would say Holding, but it also brings back about the choices that the club makes. Gabriel Paulista was signed for 15 million euros, was sold for 10 million euros at a 5 million euro loss. And he's having an absolute barnstorming season for Valencia. And if you look at the qualities that man has, in terms of the fact that he's hard and he's actually wants to rough it up and wants to stand tall against the attackers, we miss those qualities now.
Yeah,
and I think that was a real short-sighted decision to let him go. Really, I do.
So that leads me on to, in my personal opinion, I think we've missed Socrates for that mere reason that we don't have a rugged defender who's going to mix up with the attackers, and he's missed too many games, 2 games or 3 games, 2 games so far this season.
Was he injured earlier? I thought he was injured earlier in the season, wasn't he? No, maybe not.
I don't think so. I think so.
Okay.
Guys, just remember this. We actually brought Rob Holding for £2 million, and look how he's turned out for us. So
Arsene Wenger
then-
done it again. Fantastic.
Yeah, and then do you know what I think about it? If you said to me last season, what would you keep Bellerin? I would have said no, I wouldn't. I'd sell him. Just the fact of Bellerin's performance last season, but Bellerin's improved quite a lot this season. And the person that I feel that was a scapegoat and that we got as a panic was Lichtsteiner, because Lichtsteiner was playing so well during pre-season, but now he's nowhere to be seen. And the past couple of games that Lichtsteiner has played, he's been poor.
I think
He hasn't been good enough to be picked on the starting 11 side. I would have chose Bellerin for every game if I had to over him. But then you got Cole Jenkinson as well. Now, the past couple of games, Cole Jenkinson's actually been brilliant for us. But you've got to give him credit. I know he's been here for such a long time, but whenever Emery has called him up on the starting 11, he's put in 110%. And that's what I like from Cole Jenkinson. He does, not like the others. Cole Jenkinson shows that he's given 100% and you can see it. Well, as the others, you look at the likes of Ozil. Yeah, you may think that he's put in 100%, but is he really? And that's the difference between the two. See, even Ozil, I'd sell him. I'd get rid of him.
James, don't you think we're missing Welbeck as well as a good plan B when?
Yeah, especially as an impact sub maybe, and for his pace, and he always works so hard and puts in a good shift. But you can just we always seem to have a problem with injuries. I don't know if it's training methods perhaps or training pitches even with the with that kind of thing. But you would hope with the turnover in the summer, like for example, for our midfielder to be on £350,000 a week and to not even be involved in match day squads. And then once again, it was only a year ago that the extension was made, and the explanation was it will cost us more to replace him, which I thought was a load of rubbish. But you can only hope that going forward for Arsenal are a lot more concise with not only the lengths of contracts they offer, but also the wages they offer. And you're looking at identifying players better. I think for me, going, especially in the summer, I'm really intrigued as to who Unai Emery is going to identify as to who he wants. And I hope he's given a free rein to bring in who he wants and to do what he wants to do, because that's very important to continue the building process.
Yeah. All right. So before we continue, I just want to go into the chat. There's been some comments made in the chat by some eager followers here, and we've got Ryan. Good evening, Ryan. And Ryan says that if we get 10 out of 12, I'll be happy. Take that and then go Wembley and take 3 points off the Spuds. The run in that from an Arsenal perspective is the nicest run in out of all our rivals for the top four. Then he goes on to say, but if we get 10 points from the next 4 games, I honestly believe we will get top 4 spot. And you watch Kane will come back early and get another injury and be out for longer. I'm not so sure about that. And then I've got my brother who was supposed to be on the podcast tonight and he couldn't make it. He says, hi guys, sorry that I'm unable to verbally take part. Well said about the lack of communication between the defense, James. I also believe that the reason for not using younger players, it is a risk.
Yeah, but if it's a risk, that's a risk you got to take. I mean, I would rather bring in the young blood than go and spend that money, because that's what they're there for. They're there to be used. If they're doing well in the under-23s, then what sort of challenge have they got? So this is where I think that Emery should use them. Call them up. What has he got to lose? Emery hasn't got nothing to lose.
Top 4?
Because I've got a feeling that they will do a better job to what Mustafi's doing right now. Let's put it that way.
So, Richard, let me ask you a question. So, would you continue to play Mustafi, or would you just have him out of the squad?
No, I'd have him out. I would have him out of the squad.
You'd have him out of the squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. If you're looking at the smaller games like Huddersfield, Southampton, I'd bring in Mavropanos. I would actually give him a chance and see what he can provide. He's done well for the under-23 so far. He was amongst the team where they won 5-0, and didn't concede a single goal. So he must be doing something right in the under-23s.
Okay, and then Ralph goes on to say, the The reason why the old guard defenders aren't welcome at the club is because Arsen's personality clashed with egos. We must have a look at the training staff and methods of the way the players come back after injury. So yeah, that's from my brother's perspective. So let's take us on to the last question. Well, prediction for Huddersfield. So Adam, what's your prediction for what the result?
We'll win.
Scoreline.
I reckon we'll win. Probably like 3-0.
3-0.
I think he'll rest key players. I don't think he'll probably put in I reckon he'll. Actually, I don't know because I haven't seen the squad that travelled, but I reckon he should start like Carl Jenkinson or Mavropanos or someone. Just put them in.
It's funny you should mention that because before coming on live on air, I did see on Twitter that Aubameyang hasn't travelled.
Oh, has he not?
This is what I've seen on Twitter.
I read that too.
Yeah.
I reckon he's just resting. Maybe he's going to play Eddie or something.
Okay. Do you think he'll keep a clean sheet then? Yeah, it'll be 3-0.
Yeah, it's hard, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. James, prediction.
I reckon 3-1.
3-1.
I think 3-1. As I say, I was in the North Bank as we were discussing before we come on air, and was quite close to those players at the Cardiff home match. And the spaces, what they were trying to defend and what they were trying to do, I was looking at it thinking, you've got to be having a laugh. You come up again. We harbour ambitions to win a European trophy for the first time in 25 years. We've got a very generous tie against Barty Borisov. But you look at the rest of the teams in that competition, we come up against a good one against those defenders. It's good night Vienna. But I think Huddersfield playing at home, I can see them scoring. But my prediction for tomorrow is 3-1 Arsenal.
3-1. Richard, your prediction for tomorrow?
2-0.
2-0.
The reason why I'm saying 2-0 because the last time we played against Huddersfield, they actually made us fight for that goal. And it only took Torreira's overhead kick to get the goal. So really, Huddersfield was really playing out for a draw, which I don't blame them because they are playing a big club like us. But I honestly think coming back from their defeat against Chelsea, I would say 2-0, and I think we might even get a clean sheet. But I don't think we should play the diamond formation, and I honestly don't think that Ozil's going to be called up. And if Ozil doesn't get called up during this game, he's going in the summer.
But did you have him in your initial lineup? You did, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I had Ramsey.
Oh, right. Okay. There must be somebody.
My lineup for Huddersfield game was Lino in goal, Jenkinson at right back. If I can remember, it was Koscielny, Mavropanos, Klejnik as a back four. And then I had Torreira, Guendouzi. And then as the three, I had Aubameyang out on the right, Ramsey in the number 10, and Denis Suarez out on the left, and Lacazette up front.
Okay. All right. Well,
the reason why I wouldn't play Xhaka because I think he's injured. So
yeah, he is injured. He's injured. Yeah. Listen, before I wrap up this segment of Easy Talk, just a couple more comments. Actually, one more comment in the chat. So Ryan says the pressure to succeed at any club is a huge reason why most clubs don't use their youth system, which is a shame. Hope we can get back to the days of using youth system and having huge success. I totally agree, Ryan. We have to use these players. Otherwise, like I said before, they will end up going to another club, and then maybe 2-3 years down the line, we will say, "Oh no, why didn't we keep that player?"
No.
So we must use the players. Sorry, James.
And no, it's a great point from Ryan. But I'd like to add to that point that some clubs they use it as also a form of identification. Ajax here in Amsterdam are linked with believing in youth. Benfica, the same in Lisbon. It's something which is overlooked in this day and age because I think a lot of people think buying is the only solution, but you can really find for example, I think to give you an example of Benfica, the new manager's just taken over, and I think it was João Felix. He put him into the first team. He's on top form. He's red hot at the minute. So it just goes to show that all you need is a little bit of belief and to put a player in his rightful position and let him play, and it can be a masterstroke. And I think Emery's got the courage to do it and the qualities to do it. I just think that in his first season, he's just assessing what he's got making sure he's judging everything properly. And I think in the summer we'll see many, many changes, which can only be a good thing, because he's obviously 8 months into a building process, taking over from someone who's been there for 22 years. He's got to be given time. And I think he'll entertain the notion of bringing youth players in, and I think it'll be a masterstroke.
Going back just quite a few years, was Paul Davis through the youth system, James?
Yeah, I believe he was. I believe he was. Michael Thomas as well.
Thomas.
To be honest, it's like you kind of have to think though. It's like, so don't Ajax have like an Ajax? I don't know what you call it. Is it like a second team? They the reserves. They play them in like the other leagues.
The second of it, they play them in the second division. There's a division below the Eredivisie to gain match practice. But most importantly, Adam, the real talents, they kind of get fast tracked into the first team.
Yeah,
and then it's a real mix really. The real talents like a De Ligt or De Jong, they get fast tracked. Some go out on loan. But the pathway is always evident, especially from a young age, and it's also at board level something which is insisted upon. So I think Arsenal could. I mean, there's links of Overmars going to Arsenal, but I don't believe that. I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, it just goes to show. But I think in our case, it would do us the world of good to entertain bringing in youth players again.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So we have actually got the Godfather who has just entered the chat. Good evening, LTL.
Hi guys, how are you?
LTL.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just got out of a sick bed, lads.
There you go.
No, that's because the landlady's been ill for a week. I had to be quiet. I had to be quiet. The wife just walked in.
LTL. Good evening.
How's it going, guys?
Can I get your opinion quickly on these topics that we've spoken about before I wrap up this segment of Easy Talk? We spoke very briefly about the next 4 Premier League matches, which are Huddersfield away, Southampton at home, Bournemouth at home, and Tottenham away. Realistically, in your opinion, how many points do you think we can get from the next Premier League matches?
Well, do you know what? We'd all hope for, I guess, being a dreamer, but also slightly realistic. I guess 3 wins and a draw. So let's go with that. You know, we all love Arsenal and we all hope the best. So yeah, 3 wins and a draw gives us 10 points, which puts the whole thing back on track again. Okay,
Richard, you said 10 points, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And LTL, the other thing that we spoke about was our list of injured players. Which injured player have we missed so far, in your opinion?
Oh,
the list so far is Welbeck, who's out the end of the season. Rob Holding, Hector Bellerin, Henrik Mkhitaryan, even though he's back in full training. Socrates, he'll be back, I think, at the end of February. And Mavropanos, who appeared just for a few minutes in the Man City game.
Well, I think as long as you're including a more recent injury, Socrates, I think it has to be him. He definitely is cast in the mould of Tony Adams. He gets the troops going. He organises the back. He's got the Tony Adams type never say die attitude. He's vastly experienced. He's no slouch, even though he's pushing back the years. In fact, he's fast. And yeah, I'd say if I had to pick one, it's him.
Socrates. Okay. Yeah. James did kind of have concerns about the communication with the defence. And I've always wondered as well, who's communicating to who? In what language?
Martin Keown made a very good point in the last 24 hours. He was saying that although he understands why Emery moves the team tactically around and has different, has 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 5 and whatever, he says you really need to drill that defence. And I think in the long run, and I definitely think the powers that be are thinking long term here. Long term, you can only get a good defence by drilling it. Drill. And that cannot happen if you've got players constantly in and out. It just can't happen. And unfortunately, we've been hit by probably the worst injury crisis that I can remember in recent times. There is in the cold light of day, we've got to keep asking this question of why we continually hit these injury crises. At the moment, we've got 2 forwards, and if one of those got injured, then we're down to 1 fit forward. And that's also an issue. But that's all to do with the fact that towards the end of Wenger's reign, it all fell apart a bit, you know. So out of interest, lads, I'm reading Emery's biography. I don't know if any of you have read it. It's not a great read. I'm about 50 pages in, and it's bloody boring, to be honest. But the bloke who wrote it obviously assembled a whole load of quotations from various people along Emery's sort of path. But he's kind of erred, so far anyway, he's erred on the side of throwing every quotation he could find onto the page, but he hasn't kind of produced a thread running through it to let you see how it's going. Now, hopefully the book will improve, but certainly from the early days, Emery was always the tactician. He was always the man motivator. And he, I think long run, I don't think he's a stopgap, actually. A lot of people on Twitter have said they see Emery as a stopgap. I don't see that. I was terribly worried when Mislintat went, and I was surprised on Twitter how little ripple that caused. But it's possible, because he fell out with Tuchel in the past, if I pronounce his name right, that maybe Mislintat is a difficult guy to work with. And we've all worked with people like that. No matter how talented they are, they can be very tricky and not part of a team. So although I'm desperately sad to see him go, and he's got some fantastic players like Guendouzi playing for us, maybe if they're going to get in Monchi, however you pronounce the guy's name, he's got a good back record, back catalogue with Emery. And maybe that's the hope, but this is going to be a long haul. This isn't going to be a quick fix, and we've got to ride it out. It's going to be a rocky road between now and the end of the season, but there's no reason why we can't go a long way in the Europa League. And you know, if the draw favours us, and we have a good win behind our back, and we don't get any more injuries, I could see us getting through to the final.
James, you wanted to say something?
No, I think just to agree with Terry, really. Yeah, I don't believe it's a stopgap. I hope it's for the long term. You know, I remember seeing a documentary that Unai Emery did when he was saying it when he first took over at Lorca. And he was 32 years old, and he said it was very strange for him because he went from teammate to manager. So he had to learn how to behave and how to speak to his former teammates as now their manager. Yeah. But also, he managed to get Almeria promoted to La Liga for the first time in 25 years. And that was seen as a miracle. And with his experience as well with Valencia and Sevilla and Paris Saint-Germain, I'd like to add on Terry's point about the Europa League. There are some really good sides left in that competition. I mean, for me, also the dark horses of a Frankfurt or Real Betis. I'm worried on the whole, if people generalise and think, ignorance, we'll beat them. The biggest change, the biggest sea change in football, apart from the obvious, for the last 10 to 15 years, is that the gap between the seasoned teams and the smaller teams is decreasing year on year on year. So if Arsenal, the draw is very important, but if we harbour ambitions to win it, we've got to play our best team from now until the end. If we harbour ambitions to win it, because you can't cut corners. I mean, I remember the uproar when we got Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals, and people were absolutely devastated. But if you want to stand tall and you want to win the competition, you got to face up to the best teams in it. And I just think there are some great teams left in this competition, and also some surprises as well. So we've got a good tie to kick us off in the last 32. We need to set the tone by hopefully winning both legs, and then wait and see who we get. But fingers crossed we can do it and go on to win our first European trophy in 25 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So just before I wrap up this segment, I've said it 3 times already. It's going to give me the opportunity just to promote a couple of things happening on Canon Fodder. So on Monday, I'm going to be doing fan comments with Richard at 5 o'clock. Richard, is that right?
Yeah, it's fine.
And then we've got a new segment which is called The Voice of Reason with Colin, and he'll be doing his regular thing, but on Canon Fodder every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So that's my plug-in over. There's a couple more comments, and it's a question apparently for James coming from Ryan, and Ryan is asking you, James. Oh, just wait me a second. Lost it. Yeah, he's asking you, what are your thoughts on Ashley Cole dropping Bergkamp from his combined 11 for Drogba?
I just only he knows why he did it. Only that's all I can say. Only he knows why he did it. I mean, Bergkamp is not only the greatest Dutchman to ever grace the Premier League, but in my opinion, he's the greatest Arsenal player I've ever seen.
Okay.
But only Ashley Cole knows why he dropped him. But you know, obviously he's made his decision. But I could never drop him from any team, whether that's a mixed Premier League team or even an Arsenal team. The greatest player to ever play for Arsenal, in my opinion, will never be dropped by me. But Ashley Cole's made his decision, and that's that really.
He put Malouda in. He put Malouda in.
He did.
Enough said about that.
Over back.
Guys, do you know what? I think this Europa League has kind of helped us a little bit, because obviously coming out of the FA Cup as well, it's kind of helped because we ain't got to play no FA Cup games as well. So the players have got time to rest, and obviously to travel for the Europa League games. Bate Borisov, I've got no problem with this game whatsoever, because we had them in the group stages last season and we comfortably beat them. So, and I think the majority of the players that are going to go out to play Europa League is going to be starting 11 players. I wouldn't be surprised, because Emery is going to take Europa League very, very seriously. But I am going to say that the defence has to play as a unit, because if not, then I don't think that. I reckon we are going to get goals past us.
Yeah. Okay, just a few more comments just to wrap up. Again, my brother Ralph, he says, don't be surprised if it's a hard-fought draw. We don't really thrive when we are under pressure. I think he's talking about the Huddersfield match. And he's got a comment here for Eltel, the Godfather. He says, Eltel, the dark arts master is back. Whatever he means by that.
That's good news, man. That is good news. Listen, I'll give you a score prediction on the Huddersfield one.
Please.
They have got a worse defence than everybody except Fulham, I think. So, and they've only scored, I think, 13 goals in 25 matches. So that's about 1 goal every 2 matches. So I'm going to stick the neck out now and hope our defence finally keeps a clean sheet. And if we do, I can see us winning it 2-0. You reckon no?
I reckon it'd be 3-1. We just can't keep a clean sheet. We're like Father Christmas. We give giveaways. Hey, have a goal. I can't see it. I can't see us keeping a clean sheet. Anyway, listen, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up.
Do you know what, Alex? Do you know what? Before you wrap up, do you know what our problem is? We show too much fear to teams. That's our problem, especially Europa League games. Why have we got to show fear? Every team can be beaten, but as long as your players are playing 110%, making sure that they're putting blood, sweat, and tears on that pitch. We shouldn't show fear to no one, and I think that's another one of our problems.
James, do we show fear?
Well, I think that Richard makes a great point as regards to Europa League. For me, Europa League is more ignorance. I mean, we have lost in that competition to Cologne, who went on to get relegated from the Bundesliga. And we lost at home to Ostersund. I think some people, I don't know if players feel the same, but I think fans certainly do. When it's not Champions League, or if it's not Barcelona or Real Madrid, the rest must be pub teams. But if you cast an eye on what's happening elsewhere, I mean, you look at Real Betis. They've beaten Atletico Madrid. They've won in Barcelona. if Arsenal face Betis in the last 16, we have got a real job on our hands to put them away, as an example. But, you know, obviously all fans are different. I think with the point Richard makes as well, you know, about not fearing anyone, we shouldn't. But, you know, it's going to be a real fight to the end. But be interesting to see what happens. I just hope we get off to a good start by winning both legs against Bati Borisov, and then just wait and see how the draw pans out. But all this frothing at the mouth from my point of view about all the connotations for European opponents, we'll probably end up with Chelsea.
Knowing our luck.
And guys, you know what? Have you heard also that we're actually going to be the first team to debut a camera system, a 360-degree, so that the cameras will get an insight of the fans' experience. It's going to be debuted at the Man United game.
Oh wow!
And we'll be the first team to have it. So that'll be interesting to see.
Hope you do. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up.
It's a pity Mustafi hasn't got 360-degree vision, because he never looks round, he never looks to the left or right, and he goes to ground.
Yeah. But I think these cameras are based on the fans' experience. So yeah, be interesting to see.
Hotel, you would never believe it, but Mustafi is actually Adam's favourite player.
Is it?
Now you damn mind. No.
No. Yeah, but he was having a couple of drinks before he went online.
I'm kidding. Listen, enough of this laughter. It's time to wrap it up. Before I do, I want to say an absolute big thank you and welcome back to Adam, formerly of RouteOneOnline. We are so grateful, Adam. Thank you so much,
man.
Thank you so much. And James, always a pleasure to have you back on Cannon Fodder. Always a pleasure, man. All the intelligence just seeping out from you there.
Thank you very much. You're more than welcome anytime. And once again, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Richard, always a pleasure.
Yeah, always. And obviously, congratulations on being for your first year.
Thank you very much. And again, whoever's watching, remember, Monday, fan comments, Richard and myself. So drop your comments in the box below. And the Godfather himself, LTL.
Well, listen, Alex, if I'd have known this was going to be a hat gig, I'd have brought the old Spanish sombrero out. What you need to do is let all the guys know, and we'll all wear funny hats.
Yeah.
Including Mustafi.
That'll be interesting. That'll be really interesting. But anyway, this has been Cannon Fodder, celebrating its first year on YouTube. And we're so grateful to all the viewers, subscribers. Without you guys, there could never, ever be a Cannon Fodder. And we are out.